So Aaron Norris, very first time I remember rehabbing a home was with my dad's. I was probably 4 or 5. I was stuck with the vacuum as they were tearing up the carpet. Thousands of roaches were crawling up the walls, and I was diligently sucking them into the vacuum. It worked out perfect. I lived in New York City in roach-ridden apartments and illegal basements for 7 years. I was determined to be an actor based out of New York City. I was a professional. I did everything from seeing Ricky Martin based out of Puerto Rico and Celebrity Cruise Line. Glad that didn't make the videos on the internet. And got very close to some Broadway shows until Mom got sick in 2014 and I moved back. Right before I moved back, I fell into acquisition and merger presentations on Wall Street, and I liked it, so I knew there was something wrong with me. So apparently I have a good mix of left and right brain. I have a really great time with data, doing research. The only reason I work for the Norris Group is that I helped my father put together really nerdy. Do you need to adjust the Madonna mic? You want it down? I know how to find my light, and I know how to find my sound still. Okay. So the only reason I work for the Norris Group is because I know how to put together data quite a bit, and we work together on the reports. My very first year with the Norris Group was 15 years ago. We put together 1,200 pages of research, 400 pages of which were about 800 charts in California crash, telling our clients to get out of the state of California.
You can continue.
Okay. And then after that, we created the California Investor Buying Series. So we do a lot of investor education. That's my job right now. Our customer life cycle is 20 plus years. Hopefully we train you so well that you have to borrow hard money. We fund fixed flips, buy and holds, and now accessory dwelling units via all those channels. And we have for about a year. Hopefully you get so good at that you want to lend money through that, and now we are actually building houses and helping clients 1031 exchange out of California. So we're busy, and I am having a blast. This is one of my favorite quotes of the year from Patrick Ferry. He is Mike Ferry's son. You might know, Tom Ferry. He says, "I can't wait for a downturn." He said this to me earlier this year. And why would he say that? There is so much going on, and there's a lot of big money in the market, lots of Wall Street. They don't care about our industry. It's all about scale, and we're going to talk a lot about that today. Have you guys seen Gary Keller do this presentation on technology and real estate? Look on YouTube and look up Gary Keller, technology, real estate. It probably will come up. He does a brilliant job of, on the far left, he talks about the old days I grew up in the back of my dad's car was always a Thomas guide, facts of all the listings from the MLS. That's how I rolled when I was in elementary school. That agent's gone. If you think your value as a realtor or real estate investor is access to the MLS, you're in deep doo-doo. We need to find something else for you to do. On the far right is technology, the thought that technology is going to replace everything that we do. You're not going to have to touch anybody except Siri, find me a home, and then magically she's going to spit one out for you. So what we have to decide as an industry if we're going to be a tech-enabled agent or an agent that's enabling tech. And that's where I'm going tonight. This is me. These unicorns are not tested. A lot of these companies have only been around since 2014. They've never been around in a recession. We don't know if they're going to survive a recession. One of the things I do, I go to a lot of seminars. I write for Forbes, Bigger Pockets, and Think Realty magazines through the technology and real estate angle. I go to the International Builders Show, the Consumer Electronics Show, trying to find out how technology is going to impact our market. I'm just fascinated with these guys. There's a little bit of arrogance, and there's a little bit of they don't care what the hell you do. They just want scale. They just want to buy as much homes. It's not their money. They're 24 living in San Francisco and never owned a home, but they're going to buy thousands of these every year. So you wonder where I stand on that? All right. The agenda tonight, we're going to talk about tech disruptors. In public relations, we talk about the RPI method, research, planning, implementation, and evaluation. I'm going to load you up with a lot of the research piece today. I want you to understand what the market is, where they specifically are in California with the iBuyers, what they're buying. You have to understand that media right now they're generalists. They cover everything from stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, so you're going to hear very lazy reporting because they really don't have any other way to do it. We're going to dive deeper today because I'm that nerd for you. I'm gonna rush through some of the California Association of Realtors reports. I'm always looking for buy, sell, and investor data, what people want, what are the pain points that I have to address in my marketing. And finally, I'll beat up whatever marketing channel you want. We can talk about tactics. I've been a podcaster since way before it was cool. I've been a YouTuber before it was cool. And now I'm working on voice search optimization. Hey Alexa, play the Norris Group Real Estate Radio Show, and it works. I've been working on that for 2 years, and we'll be launching a new series on Amazon Prime. I've been on Amazon Prime for a couple years. It's going to be interesting. What happens when we're no longer looking at our cell phones because of voice assistants? We have to think about it. So there's so many things to stress about. We got the economy, we got earthquakes, we got fires, and hooray, we've got a political, an election coming up. I'm already exhausted. It's just, anyway, let's get to the disruptors. So Wall Street. So the iBuyers in the market, there's 4 main ones in California. Zillow entered the race this year, and you'll see the numbers. It's pretty crazy. They've gotten hot and heavy really fast. They deal with all the pain points that we as real estate investors do. Buy all cash, fast, as is, all that kind of good stuff. They're just backed by a lot of money. And they vertically integrate, meaning that they make money throughout the entire life cycle. So for those of you who follow our work at I Survive Real Estate, there's a reason why we had Dot Loop from Zillow as part of our panel a few years ago. 2 years ago, we had Nick Bailey. He was the broker liaison for Zillow at the time. And on the panel, he's like, no, Zillow's not going to get into the iBuyer ranks. Nope, not at all. Next year, he was the CEO of Century 21 that led the rebranding of the Century 21 brand. And that's when they launched the iBuyer program. And that next year, we had Marnie with Dot Loop. That is their closing software, the escrow. So eventually, when you touch the Zillow brand, you may never, ever touch another brand in the entire real estate life cycle. What did Zillow open earlier this year? A mortgage division. So from soup to nuts, they're trying to control the entire transaction. So why we start talking about iBuyers, I know the numbers are going to look a little weird, but I want you to be thinking they're making money throughout the entire transaction. Every little piece they're trying to carve off, and it's a competition and it's a race now. So we'll start talking about the partnerships that have appeared just over the summer, and it's a game. They're all trying to partner doing the same exact thing. So here are the major iBuyers for now, at least in California. We have Open Door. They've now got a valuation of over $1 billion. If you're on Property Radar, you'll see there's a total of $1.5 billion in credit line that they've got. So when they do a buy, you're like, what? The house only costs $300,000. Why does it say, $9 million? It's funny. OfferPad has been around since 2015. They've sort of wound down a lot of their buying in most markets, and I'll talk about that in a second. Zillow Offers gotten hot and heavy this year. We've got Redfin, who's buying for a while. And Keller Williams sort of said earlier this year, secretly we've done about 100. We don't have a choice. We're entering the market. And now Realogy has entered the market, EXP, it's all cool. Everybody's got an iBuyer program. It's awesome. I love visiting sites and then letting it follow me around the internet. So here's some ads. It's all the pain points that you would write as a real estate investor. I love looking at faces, at least for me in the city of the Inland Empire. 50% of our demographic in Riverside is Hispanic. So I love how racially ambiguous these two people are. We've got like a Tiger Woods thing going on here. I'm not sure. Mexican, Black, Asian. I really don't know if she's 25 or 45. We know the saying, black don't crack. I'm Irish, I can't claim that. And then we got the homes. We've got the area-specific homes where they're talking about, get your free appraisal, all that kind of stuff. You've seen all this before. And their mailing campaigns are beautiful. This is one of my rentals. Open Door sends me a mailer probably once a month. So for those of you who aren't following up and doing a good job working your mailing lists, Open Door is. They're very, very consistent, and they do a beautiful job on design. My partner has a philosophy on marketing. If you're going to print something, it might as be beautiful. It costs the same amount of money to print in 4 colors something that looks nice compared to something junky, unless it's a strategy. I don't know too many people doing like legit yellow letter these days because you're really competing against this. Deep pockets, polished, really professional looking. Yes. You're going to hear something that the iBuyers are selling at least 1 in 10 to the Wall Street REITs that are buying and holding these as rentals. I'm not seeing that in California. They're mainly going to owner occupants. Just want to dispel that. Since we're in Los Angeles, this is where they're buying. The orange, I track for our newsletters, for our education portal, I track all the buy-sell side for all the iBuyers in California. So I've been tracking this for about a year now. The yellow is OfferPad. I think the blue is Open Door. The purple is Zillow, and the red is Redfin. So you can sort of get an idea of where they're buying. Bye, Christina. So when the media covers this, they're going to try to sell you on a concept of a buy box. This is what we buy. And I was just really curious to find out, because I'm that nerd, is it really like a specific buy box? Does it matter by area? Does it matter by company? Because it was, I originally thought that the iBuyers weren't willing to buy heavy fixers, and that's not always true. Doesn't mean that they haven't learned that it's really hard and they're going to lose money, but let me show you the data. So Open Door, at least in Los Angeles, they've bought as early as 1950. They've bought something new, but their average is in the 70s. Oh, sorry, over here, they're buying condos and single-family residences, but they've only bought 15 since March of this year. They're not going hot and heavy. Zillow is not in the county of Los Angeles right now. You've got Redfin and OfferPad. They've been here for a while. OfferPad's been here since 2017, Redfin since 2018. Back up here. The size is the square footage of the property. Lot size, that's the square footage of the actual lot. The beds, the baths, the price that they purchased it for, the amount of days that they held it, and the profit is nothing but the buy price minus the sell price. We really don't know how much they're discounting the property. They're doing a bunch of stuff on the back end with credits and stuff, so we're not going to know. I know they're not making money, so for those like Zillow that are publicly traded, it's coming out that they're not doing very well. But again, remember that they're making money elsewhere, so it's something you just have to understand. Look at OfferPad. They're willing to buy 1921. They've done some beautiful work. I'll show you a few examples of that. So anyway, that's LA County. Cool? I won't harp on it too much because there's more charts. I want you to look at the activity. Look how hot and heavy OfferPad was in LA, and then they just stopped. They're barely buying anything. So Redfin just really got hot and heavy earlier this year. So now Open Door just started coming in and buying more expensive stuff. And then property sold. The turnaround time is getting tighter. And these are the most popular cities that they're in Los Angeles. So as high up as Santa Clarita. So this is an example. This is Redfin. It was a condo. I like to follow just they purchased it for $349 and they ended up selling it for $355. And oh, sorry. They purchased it for $310 and they sold it for $355. Now that doesn't include the discount. We don't know if they got a 10% or a 15% in the price. That's just what they're marketing it as. They can do a lot of different things with credits behind the scenes for things like repairs. We're never going to know. There's no public record of that. But they did do a very, very nice job on the rehab. Here's one in Long Beach. They purchased it for $494. 5 months later, they sold it for $515. So you've been in flipping for a while. You're looking at the numbers being like, what? Yeah, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now remember, right now, they also don't have to make money. Also, they just have to create market share. That's my favorite about Wall Street. Just so you know, I've been competing with Wall Street for a long time in the hard money lending space. I have to report them to Google at least 2 times a year because they use the Norris group in their actual ads on Google. Yes, and they mess up advertising. They've really driven up cost per click ads. For those of in this room that pay for ads, search engine marketing, that kind of stuff, it's really driving it up, and you should expect it on the iBuyer side as well. They're going to mess up pay to ads for realtors. This one was in Burbank, and this one took a really long time. They bought it at the end of 2017. They did a really nice remodel, and they staged it and everything. So OfferPad was not afraid at the time to do some really ugly stuff and some really beautiful rehabs. It was impressive. All right. Just for a comparison, and why I wanted to do this was to see OfferPad was willing to buy 1921 LA, but they haven't bought anything earlier than 1950 in Riverside County. I just wanted you to see the difference in numbers. Open Door is buying everything from a 1-bedroom all the way to a 7-bedroom, 5-bathroom in Temecula. So it's wildly different depending on the market. So when somebody tells you, for the state of California, the average, like, who cares? It really depends on the market. Why you would care as a realtor is if you've got a client, you just have to know they're going to want you to do that anyway. iBuyers are here to stay. It's just part of your toolkit. And God forbid you are a real estate investor or have some real estate investors that are really good in the local market in your back pocket, because you could be doing this. Everybody can be an iBuyer. There's no secret. You can do it. As a real estate investor, like Bill was saying earlier, this just changes the game. They're going to probably offer much higher prices. They've got really slick marketing. We're going to do some other things, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Just for those of you, I know several of you invest in the Riverside area just so you see where they're buying. See, I think next year is going to be the year of the iBuyer where it really hits the fan, because you've got the realtors, boots on the ground. And I'm excited for brands like Keller Williams. Keller Williams in particular to me really stands out. They're very tech forward. They're very ingrained in the community. They really build a culture of getting down deep in the chamber, nonprofits. I really like the brand. So now that they're working with OfferPad, it's going to be interesting to what they're able to do with that kind of money behind them in the iBuyer space. So Riverside County, those are the cities, but it's just ramping up. I presented this last week in Palm Springs. So Zillow's the only one in Palm Springs. Open Door is the only one in Sacramento. So some of them only cover specific cities. Here's one in Palm Springs. Bought it in December, and they still got it listed. Ouch. It went pending once. They were so excited. Oh, well. I don't judge. This one was bought in June, and they sold it right away. So that was a really fast turn, and that was Zillow. So some of them are in and out, and it looks like they're trying to turn and burn. It's going to be interesting to watch because we were competing at trustee sale against a lot of the Wall Street money. Their goal eventually was like, the later stuff. They wanted really clean. They didn't want the heavy rehabs. I think the money is going to turn and burn so hard, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on them to start at least looking like they're making money, that they'll probably lean to the cleaner stuff. So that means for those of us in the room, we're probably going to get stuck with the stuff that smells a lot worse. And hoarder homes, Christy, you are in luck. You are in luck. Just in case, we'll show you the San Bernardino where they're buying. Helpful at all? Yeah. Told you I was a nerd. Oh, all right. Let's talk about rehabs for a second. You realtors in the room would clock me if I ever did this. They put in a brand new white shaker kitchen, and they left the 1980s Mexican dial with the dark grout. God don't like ugly. That's wrong. It's wrong. And it hung out for a while, too. So sometimes they're trying to be cheap and it's not working. So another good point is if you're doing flipping, make sure you're good on the design side. We'll talk about that in a second too. So here's the iBuyer totals overall. This is for the state of California. This is through August of this year. So you get just a sense of what they're buying and how many across the state. The most Open Door. They've only been buying since the end of 2016. They've really gone hot and heavy. Let's look at the Redfin and OfferPad. We're really willing to buy a lot higher dollar. Open Door has already been buying in the the high end range, so I know they announced it, but they had already been doing it. So there you have it. So I suspect as the competition gets a little bit more stiff that they're going to, I would be surprised if they decide if we have a little bit of a recession, like if you watch the San Jose market right now, their numbers have decreased. They're a little bit an island onto themselves, and their median price has definitely gone down. It's not cute when you have a $100,000 price decrease in 6 months. So depending on the market, they might decide to stay away from the higher end and really focus on that first-time buyer. Then again, first-time buyer in San Jose is probably $1.6 million. So there you go. I'd expect them to probably start staying 1970s and after, fewer pools. They'll probably stay away from historic districts and major rehabs. We'll see how it goes and how desperate they get and how much money they have to spend or else they'll lose it. So I was at the International Builder Show, and one of the iBuyers was there, and I was there as press. And so I was talking to them, and they had been drinking a little bit. I'm like, do you own anything? He's like, no, I live in San Francisco. I'm like, okay. I'm like, are you ready for Zillow to enter the Inland Empire? They're like, yeah, we're ready. So there's just very much this arrogance. It's just really interesting to see. So local investors versus iBuyers, we're both talking the same language when it comes to speed, cash, low fees, flexibility, and privacy. You're going to see a lot of different models show up in the iBuyer, especially when the realtors enter the market. The builders are getting involved in different ways, so we'll see some interesting things. Wall Street doesn't have to make a profit. This is the red. They've got a lot of marketing dollars. The Sacramento office for Open Door was shut down. They're the only one up there. One of our investor friends in Sacramento interviewed one of the employees that decided not to move to Phoenix. Supposedly, they were spending $250,000 in the greater Sacramento region for direct mail and social media marketing. Who else is spending that kind of money on a market? It's crazy. How do you compete with that? Exactly. And they have too much money than what they know what to do with for technology, so there you go. For Main Street investors, heavy rehabs, design, creative transactions. That's why you want to go see built in. You really have to become a little bit more sophisticated, get creative, know how to create creative transactions because it's going to come in handy. You hire local, you give local, and you sell to owner occupants. That should always be part of your branding because local matters. At the end of the day, even Gen Z, this next wave of demographics coming up, they want to work with realtors. They're looking at buying way sooner than Gen Z, millennials. So apparently one of their sticking points is they think they have to save 11% for a down payment. Random number, I know. Some other disruptors, we were actually going to try to have purple bricks at FIBI Real Estate this year until magically they bailed. Super weird timing for them to bail, but man, they had a bad reputation. They were based out of Irvine. They had changed their price earlier this year to like a flat $5,000 fee. You would have thought that would have worked in a place like Irvine where a $5,000 fee for a listing of a $1.5 million house, that saves you a lot of money. But they were just so poorly known in the market. It was terrible. So Redfin, you've got Compass, Rex, and eXp Realty. Everybody's coming to the market with a different version, driving down listing fees. And realtors in the room, we really have to have a conversation about what our value is and what we bring to the table. You better get very good at estate planning. You better be dangerous about talking about 1031 exchange and doing more creative things that we'll talk about later, like accessory dwelling units, property management. It's just something that we're going to have to do because Wall Street won't touch it. They're not going to touch anything customer service oriented. Now we've got Amazon entering the fray. Turnkey. So if I sell, if you buy a house through their turnkey program, and it's through Realogy. Realogy is the brand that was on FIBI Real Estate this year. The Chief Innovation Officer, it was a Major Coup, who participates sometime in this panel. It's super rad. He is, they are in charge of Better Homes, Coldwell Banker, Century 21, Sotheby's, and ERA. They've got a lot of realtors. If you end up buying a home through them, basically based on price of the sale, you get some free stuff. So you're probably going to land in this area. If you're selling stuff in LA, you get a package worth of $5,000. Brilliant Amazon move. Because it's free hardware, so you get 4 Echo Dots, 4 Echo Shows. I can't even read that.
1 Ring doorbell.
Yeah, the doorbell, the whole bit. These are all the hardware, but it's professionally installed by somebody who actually knows what they're doing, and they're going to train you on it. It's a brilliant move for Amazon to get into every home and to make sure you know what you're doing. It's magical. I've been decorated for Christmas since early October, and Amazon doesn't reply to Alexa. It's computer because it's very Star Trek, right? So it's like computer, turn on Christmas, and our whole house lights up. It's magic. Alexa's not in the bathroom, not in the bedroom. It weirds me out a little bit. Even being at the Consumer Electronics Show this year, I was a little surprised they didn't leave with security first. It's still innovation first. I'm just a little uncomfortable still, so not there. Who knows? Some other, I won't focus too much on this. I'll just give you a good example. Offers. You're going to hear a lot about artificial intelligence. Offers is a company we had on the radio show. They say they have an algorithm based on public data. They suck into their system 30 different public data points that they're able to tell within 70% accuracy when somebody's going to sell within a year. So maybe you don't have to blanket market to an entire group. You can just whittle it down to those few people and really do a good job hitting them up every week, calling them, door knocking, stalking. Do what you got to do. Get the deal. We got chat bots, all kinds of fun stuff. I don't think the voice assistants are going to be able to keep up with what's happening, but some of you have seen this, but it's grown over the years, and once upon a time, you all looked at me like I was Satan. Anyway, I'm in my fancy, 63 Euro bed. It's got this huge screen, so I can just zone out and play video games all day long. I've got Nest on the wall. Who's the parent brand who owns Nest? Google, yes. So, well, Alphabet, technically. We all wondered, like, why are they buying things like fire, smoke detectors? You've got the air conditioning units. They're trying to be ubiquitous everywhere. It's all listening. They're all spying on you. So she's on the wall. I happen to like Alexa. I don't think they're going to be voice specific, but she says, Aaron, handsome, because she is enrolled in a Tony Robbins affirmation seminar. She always says very nice things to me. She's like, coffee's ready, the dog's ready to go out, and you have the gym in 37 minutes. I'm like, Alexa, why are you waking me up at such a weird time? She's like, I couldn't wait. I know you would be so excited. Your crusty neighbor is finally going to sell the house behind you. I'm like, this is Magical. Thank God. Let's go. So she transfers into the Roomba in the kitchen. She diligently sweeping the kitchen. Tell me more. Well, best friend on LinkedIn is Lisa. We all know she overlists and things hang out. Don't you worry. Already put an offer in for 75% of after repair value minus repairs. The hard money application with the Norris group is in, and you've got a Zinni through at 2:30 this afternoon. I'll show you what a Zinni is in a second. It's freaking hilarious. The big difference is that when I used to do this a while ago, you guys all thought I was crazy, and now none of you are shaking your head like this is impossible. We're almost there. The biggest change has been the apps are learning how to talk to each other, and the companies have started allow the ability for the apps to work together. So we're not that far away from this becoming a reality. It's happened in the search for a long time. I've been in the search engine optimization space forever. Each of us in this room have a very different experience with all the social media, all the search engines, because we all talk differently, we search differently, and we like different things. So all of us have a very unique experience with everything that we do. This is Zinni. So in the Bay Area, just because you can't be bothered, you just have a robot, and you walk your clients around on a robot in condos. Not a good move. I would not do that. Anyway. Yeah, virtual reality Matterport. We have an event coming up in February 1st, and Black Friday, I'm going to buy a whole bunch of virtual reality headsets so people can walk through our Florida houses that we're building while we're there and experience virtual reality. So if you come in February, you'll get to see that. Matterport has that. It's pretty cool. It's getting better. So local realtors versus discount brokers, we're doing the same things, listing photos, data, market analysis. Gosh, Wall Street, they don't have to make a lot of money, cheap fees. The realtor, well, they tried to cut the realtor out. There's been a lot of pushback. And it's good. You guys, you deserve it. You work hard. They've got a lot of money for marketing, advanced technology, and they're vertically integrating like we've talked about before. So for realtors on Main Street, what we can do that they won't, the customization of services, getting really good at estate planning, historic knowledge. Some surveys that are coming up from the builders and the Realtor Association is that the younger generations don't want you to necessarily focus on the dwelling, focus on the lifestyle. They want you to say, what do you want life to look like? Do you want to live close to downtown where it's walkable? Do you want to live close to school? Are you going to start having kids? You're selling them a lifestyle, not a shelter. I think you can see a lot of that with some of the co-living brands, which we'll talk about later. Some of the things they're doing is very creative, but it's a lifestyle you're selling, not just a piece of real estate. You're hyper-networked. You've got creative transactions in your bag. You give local, hire local, and it's really quality versus quantity. Wall Street is all about the numbers game. We have to be about the quality game, customer service. So I'm going to fly through some of the California Association of Realtors data. If you're a realtor, go in their portal. They hadn't done this survey in three years. They hadn't updated this since 2015. So I was really happy to see that they rolled it out. What they did differently this time, which made it hard to compare apples to apples, is they actually segmented it by demographic. So as an example, the median price for a millennial, where was it? Right here. And I was very surprised by that. So millennials are buying way later in life, and so they're not going into a typical starter home. They're sort of jumping into a forever home. Some news reports just came out today saying people are living in their home a lot longer. I think part of that is seniors are stuck and they can't afford to live anywhere else. They're sort of stuck in their home. But it's just interesting to see the price compression there. You don't see like a 200 grand because they're buying a 1-bedroom, 1-bath in not so nice area. And look at the median income even. Those millennials are making some coin. They're not playing around. So buyer highlights, they're looking for specific cities. They want to be close to jobs and family. Let's get into buyer considerations, the reasons they're purchasing. They're looking for more bedrooms, something that they can actually afford. I love that central AC showed up. I never had central AC in New York City, so I can, yes, definitely agree with that. And private outdoor space seems to be ranking. Whenever possible, when you see these numbers, it's because I'm just sort of saying what showed up in 2015. So in 2015, the major response was people were tired of renting. That's why they wanted to buy. So a little bit different. Buyer considerations for neighborhood, safety, budget, close to school, close to shopping, close to family and friends. And this is the demographic breakdown. So the dark blue is millennials, Gen X, and then boomer. So I don't think anything is out of the ordinary. In my budget, ranks higher with seniors, in a safe neighborhood, seniors. Millennials are like, meh. Safety? I'm just trying to get into a house. For the property, they're looking for bedrooms, price range, AC, bathroom, and outdoor space. Reasons for not buying sooner. Saving for the down payment is the hardest thing right now. Financing, and no urgency to buy. Compared to 2015, they just weren't urgent to buy, and now they're sad they didn't. Oh well. How long was your home search? It's gone way down. For those of us who've been around this last cycle, it's really changed, and I think it's this next chart. Yes, the number of homes viewed. Remember back in 2014 when you were a realtor and you were a buyer's agent? God bless you. You earned your commission because you, on average, saw 20 homes before a sale was made, and now you're down to 9. Ouch. The most useful websites for buyers. I want you to pay attention to that red line. If you are spending a lot of money on your website and you're a realtor, stop. If you need more proof, this is the National Association of Realtors. The number of customer inquiries realtor receives on a personal website, 2017. Boom! Big fat 0. Why is that? Every year in January, I do a search, and I've done this for almost a decade, I think. I do a search. I go in an incognito window, for those of you super data, and I'm trying to replicate the same scenario. Incognito window, and I search for the home that I grew up in Riverside. And I'm just trying to figure out, just strictly from a search engine optimization standpoint, knowing that Google is trying to deliver the most useful, helpful experience for the searcher possible. The last few years, it's really been these 3 that go up and down. Realtor.com only started ranking in search a few years ago. Good for them. So they're up to number 3. So Redfin, but look at all the features that they have, and here's you. So I'm just suggesting you're really not going to be able to spend $1 million on helping the consumer help you build a better estimate. It's just be careful of where you spend your marketing dollar. What I like to do is at the end of the year, go backwards and see where all your conversions came from. Not how many people visited your website or how many people clicked on your ad, how many people actually did business from you. And you better be asking because you need to understand what channels are converting for you. Man, it's saved me so much money and time getting really, really good at that. But you do need to do it. When you're going to Zillow and Redfin right now, this is what it looks like. If I do a search, this is my house in downtown Riverside. It says, get your offer right below the map pack. And Redfin over here, same thing. It's giving you a price range. Okay, Redfin, I'll take that because that ain't the price. But that's what the consumer's saying. So the buyer takeaways, 34% found their home through an agent. 83% reported visiting a website during the process. Millennials aren't loyal to anybody yet. So if you're a realtor and you want to work that market, they're going to gravitate towards cheaper just because they don't care yet. So there you have it. But 94% still end up using an agent during the process. Just remember that this is one of the most expensive transactions they've ever made in their life, besides college. So they need some help. Gen Z started, as I mentioned, saving early. It looks like they're going to end up becoming buyers much earlier than the millennial generation. Buyers worked with the first agent they spoke to, so there's a need to respond quickly. 90% of millennials want to own. And let's see, that's the most diverse generation, and 50% of who they choose is relationship driven. Knowledge about the neighborhood and markets, we've talked about that. You're selling them on a lifestyle, not just the house. And 50% said they needed help with negotiations. So here are the top 5 characteristics of a realtor that buyers are looking for from you. Listen, quick response, worked hard, help, and negotiate. Where do they find the agent? This is a terrible chart, and I'm really disappointed because this is one of my favorite charts they produce, but magically we just have this big other bucket. I forget what the question is. Oh, where do they find their agent? It's just this big other category, so only 20% relationship driven, and the internet is 21%. And maybe there's not enough people are asking, I don't know. I'm going to fly through the seller stuff real fast. Seller considerations, reasons for selling. They just want a good price. Now's a good time to get out of Dodge. Finding a qualified buyer now seems to be a better time. A quick sell. Look at that, downsizing. All those seniors, boom, getting out of here. My dad's idea of downsizing was not downsizing. Isn't that funny? Does anybody else have parents who are like, oh, I need something smaller? Like, how did you end up with a 5,000 square foot house, y'all? Stop it. Sellers needed most help with negotiations. What I thought was interesting in 2015 is that marketing ranked 3rd. Marketing doesn't rank at all in 2018. They're assuming you know what you're doing if you're a realtor and you're a sales agent. Better get it right. So what's ranking now? Negotiating, determining the list price, advice on selling, home staging, help with legal issues, timing and sequences, especially as we're dealing with older generations, trying to do legacy building, also doing 1031 exchanges. Got to get good at that stuff. There was one thing I did want to mention here. 85% use the sales agent during the process. Considering it's in an up market, that's still pretty good. There's definitely, they could do the FISBO thing, but for the most part, they're not doing that. 50% wanted to hear from you within 30 minutes. However, 75% wanted to talk to you by the phone, not by text. I was a little bit surprised to see that. Are you a phone guy?
Oh, phone guy.
A total phone guy. Tony Alvarez calls it giving good phone. Touche. Reasons for choosing the agent, notice 2018, almost every single one of them is relationship driven. Trustworthiness, reputation, personal referral. So if you suck on the internet and nobody likes you, you're not going to get listings. Would anybody rather be a buyer's agent than a listing agent? That's what I thought. So much harder. All right, top seller pain points. There you go. I just like to look at this stuff. Builders, realtors, they provide some really, really great data. So I love flying through that just from a marketing standpoint, making sure my marketing is on point with the benefits and the features, all that kind of good stuff. One of the other things that I'd love to focus on right now is the living trends, some things that can make you extra money, make you more creative, have really interesting conversations with clients. So today when I talked about ADUs for an hour with a property management club, very few of them had ever heard about accessory dwelling units. They didn't know what it was or sort of how to approach it. Co-living. You need to understand, because of the accessory dwelling unit conversation I'll talk about in a second, most Airbnbs will be outlawed. So the cities are not happy that the state is forcing their hands. They are the biggest loser in October from all the bills that passed in real estate. 18 bills in total passed. Cities lost absolute control starting January of 2020. So they're not happy about it. And the state bills specifically spell out that it's completely fine to no longer allow 30-day or less vacation rentals, pretty much. Co-living is a very acceptable way to do this, and I have several investors that do this. They rent things out per room. What you have to decide is what kind of lifestyle you want to create. So I think this was one in Denver. I forget the name of this. They're also called hacker houses or dorms for grown-ups. The bottom, this happens to be a mid-rise one, where the bottom is, I think there's a yoga studio down here. Look at this very trendy workspace, probably doing a little bit better than we work. We've got a coffee shop. And then upstairs, when you go to higher floors in this particular building, you land in an apartment where the main space is designed beautifully. It's a really beautiful kitchen and a big open family space, and you've got bedroom offshoots. So they're sharing the main space, but they have a very private bedroom, a bathroom, maybe sometimes even a little mini kitchen. I have an investor out in Riverside. She's been doing this for over a decade. Her market is graduate students at UC Riverside. She murders it. Instead of getting $1,500 a month, she's charging by the room. She even charges them more for using the garage. So she's itemizing everything and charging. There are professional Wall Street money that are getting into the space. Common is one that if you look on our radio show and podcast, it was last year, a company called Common. They're building in San Francisco, but they got their start doing co-living, doing master leases out of New York City. So they tied up entire buildings, dressed them up, and they look like this. They look straight out of HDTV. It's stunning. It really, really is. This unit, it's really hard to see, but it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and then this main living space. And for San Francisco, $2,600 a month seems like a steal, because one price gets you everything: internet, utilities, the living space, and then a lifestyle. So one of the things Common was doing is like, meet your local council member. We'll have coffee and we'll hang out and we'll hold hands. Some of them are offering toiletries, weekly cleaning, olive oil. So I'm not kidding. My favorite is at you should go to the Apartment Owners Association. Sometimes you see some really interesting stuff. But the last time I was there, they had co-living for artists. So inside they had the green wall for YouTubers. So for the creators, they could just pop in, turn on a light, be like, hey, everybody. So anyway. Micro-living. This is the oldest existing mall in America. It's called the Arcade Providence. It's in Rhode Island. 300 square foot studios rent for $1,500. I lived in New York City, then way smaller than this, so I know I can do it, and people are into it if they just are living in a great city like Los Angeles. They don't really care because they're not in their apartment. They're stuck in traffic. And they can't afford it. If you look it up, there's a YouTube video, sort of like a little bit of a documentary. The very bottom floor is like co-workspace, and the top 2 floors are these micro units. They're well designed, but I mean, that is the kitchen. That's all you get. And there's a bed and a desk in the back, and there you go. 300 square feet. It's beautiful. This is right down in LA. I'm sure you've seen this. Podshare.co. They have podestrians, sorry about that. $50 a night will get you an upgraded bunk bed. Europeans have been doing this forever. It's called hostels. But these have plugs. So you're adding that up per night, and that makes no sense. One of the reasons I want to share it with you, though, is this. The future is access, not ownership. So the whole millennial generation has been given a really hard time because they're like, oh, I don't want to own anything. I got to be able to take that Seattle job with Amazon and be able to get up and go anywhere. They're really leaning very hard into the concept that it's about access, not ownership, not own anything. My favorite conversation is millennials, and I spot it every time. I have the conversation at least once a month. Somebody will call, it's like, I really want to buy my first rental, and they sound a little young. I'm all, you're millennial, aren't you? They're like, how did you know? I'm all, do you own? No. Why? Why are you wanting to invest in real estate and not own something first? Well, I'm all, can we talk about a fourplex or a duplex first, please? And they're like, okay. I really try to sell the concept of home ownership, even if they're looking at a duplex or fourplex, but oddly enough, the millennial generation wants to jump right into real estate investing without ever having experienced home ownership. I don't know, I just think the whole concept of would you buy one is really important in our industry. There's just something that goes along with home ownership that goes a long way. So anyway, accessory dwelling units, 5 different bills passed in October as part of 18 bills overall. The bills started coming out in 2017. Basically, the state said, we're tired of it. How in a very liberal state like California can we not be building enough houses? Well, the problem is NIMBYs, not in my backyard, and the builders like to call them bananas. Build absolutely nothing anywhere near anythingers. So by the time you've got housing projects get down to the local level, what happens is the council members get lots of complaints, and the council members represent the people in their district. So they get squashed. So the state said, enough. It's no longer in your control. So as of January of 2020, things changed recently, like owner-occupied rules no longer apply for 5 years. There's a moratorium starting in January. So don't start your ADU project until January. They've codified a little bit more specificity around parking, around square unit size. The law says cities have to allow at least 1 ADU for single-family residents, and if you have a multifamily property, you can reconfigure the space up to 25% more within existing square footage. That is cool. Now what you need to know is there's money out there, specifically in LA, that's going to come up. Affordable housing, homelessness, energy efficiency upgrades. You've got things like LADWP not being able to spend money on commercial upgrading of, oh gosh, the stuff that goes in the walls, that insulation. Thank you. Where's some other money? They're looking for affordable housing opportunities, and it might be something unique. It's just piecing it all together because none of the buckets of money are talking. And I think there's still some money left over for earthquake retrofitting if you have a multifamily. So you can get creative and find ways to get paid for this, and things that Wall Street will never focus on because they don't care. So let me see if I missed anything. Oh, one passed in August that I missed. HOAs cannot outlaw ADUs. That's weird, right? You're like, wait a second, I don't own the land around my condo. I can't just like bump out the wall. But you can do a junior accessory dwelling unit. I can convert the garage into its own and mess with the square footage inside the property to create internally. So I showed up just for fun to my local HOA that my mom-in-law lives in. I'm not gonna do this, I'm just saying. I could convert my garage and there's really nothing you can do. And they're like, a lot of property managers don't even know this is gonna happen. If you're in an HOA and you don't wanna have that happen, the only way I can think out around this at all is if you set a cap on the rentals, not fine, convert your garage to an ADU, but oh, sorry, we have a 20 max in this tire area because it's a warrantable condo thing. Financing is really important. That's reasonable. You can't outlaw ADUs anymore, so man, it's the smackdown. The state just said, so anyway, that's a good one. You can build up to 1,200 square feet. The setbacks have changed for side and backyard to 4 feet. There's a really weird non-profitability to separately convey the ADU, which I think is a terrible idea. Don't do that. Supposed to be limits on if you're building under 750 square feet, there shouldn't be impact fees. This was a game that a lot of the cities were playing with, like, yeah, we're going to need $50,000 in impact fee for your 600 square foot ADU. Yeah. And if it's bigger than that, it needs to be commensurate with, you shouldn't be paying the same impact fees as a single family residence. Got it. Anyway, lots more on this coming. We'll see how they adjust. Before I spoke in Long Beach today, I called planning. And they're like, yeah, we haven't even looked at the new code. They're clearly ticked off. I would pay special attention. Call your city right now. Find out if they're pro or against, because you're going to want to know in 5 years if you spend 150, 200,000, and if 5 years they're going to mess with your cash flow. Just, you have to know. And if you're recommending to clients, that you could get in trouble. So just be really careful. Local expectations and designs. For those of you who know who Andrea Van Soest is, this is actually one of her rehabs. She does such a beautiful job on designs of her rehabs that she can squeeze out $30,000 extra dollars in a city like Menifee, Murrieta. But she does such a good job. She also has manufacturers come out and say, hey, will you put our product in your Insta-ready rehab? So I think a special attention to detail can go a long way. And I think the buyer these days are just watching way too much HGTV. It's terrible. It's terrible. All right, I got to get moving. We're sort of covering that. This is the best way that I can frame marketing. I can beat up a lot of things for you tonight. We'll spend a little, at the very end, we'll talk about specific tactics if you want. This is my strategy in the best way I've ever seen it documented. I'm very visual. On the far left is owned. And the owned category is things that I can control as a marketer. I can control my website, my mailing list, my email list. It's channels that I directly control and nobody else can mess with me. The shared channels like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, are there case studies of brands, social media brands that have gone under? Yeah, Friendster, MySpace, Vine being the latest one. If you build your entire brand on some of these social networks, they control the game. They can change it at any time. Remember once upon a time on Facebook when you could post something and everybody saw everything you posted and all the likes, it just felt so good. And now you have to pay for everything. It's terrible. So I don't mind participating in shared, and I do it appropriately. I know how to play the game. Just so you know, I don't spend any money in social media marketing at all. I really challenge myself to create such good, engaging content that people come to me naturally, because I've had terrible ROI on social media ads. Earned is sort of the public relations. I'm running for the national board right now. Thank you very much. Don't think that it has to be something like the LA Times to count. It could be your Catholic bulletin. I'm that guy in the pews reading like, please give me something to read. Maybe it's an HOA newsletter because you end up, your target market is seniors. Earned media is just whatever it is that makes the phone ring. It doesn't have to be the LA Times, and in some cases, like the Press Enterprise, you know how I can tell when we're in specific media, if anybody cares? Web traffic. It's a big difference if I'm in the Press Enterprise versus the LA Times, which I have been. You'll see a big tick up in the big media sites, but something like the Press Enterprise, it's pretty terrible. Paid ads, you just have to know it's going to get really hard. So paid ads on YouTube, on Facebook, on Google, all these Wall Street companies are really going to drive up prices. So you have to pay very close attention to conversions and making sure that you're sending people to your website. My biggest trick is remarketing campaigns. If I do a really good job getting people to my website, I'll pay for remarketing. You know when you go to a website and all of a sudden you see my ad on Amazon, Macy's, that's remarketing. It's where it's following you because of cookies installed. Way cheaper. If you were taking a marketing class like 10 years ago, you would hear the saying, in order for somebody to do business with you, they need to have seen your brand 7 times. Depending on who you talk to now, it's 20 to 50. Yeah. And one of the reasons why is this, double screening. I'm that guy watching Game of Thrones, playing an embarrassing game on my iPad and texting. You don't have my undivided attention. Note I won't tell you the game I'm playing on my iPad. Our time with media has exploded. What's interesting is that we're still spending time with live TV, but what's grown is the apps. But I think part of it is because I think it says that some amount of simultaneous usage may occur across devices. I think that's grossly underestimating. I think we're spending a lot of joint time. So my job as a marketer is to drive people down the sales funnel as quickly and efficiently as possible. People thought I was crazy when we launched our investor roadmap, where it's free. I'll get on the phone with you and I ask you 4 questions. Are you an introvert or an extrovert? What's your financial position? How much time do you have to be in the business? And what level are you, beginner to advanced? If you tell me you're broke, you don't have time because you have 2 full-time jobs, and you're an introvert, I'm going to tell you to lock it down, have a good time in the club, but this is not your cycle. Because I'm going to tell you to do things like door knock and, get on the phone and call people, and you're going to hate your life. No, seriously. But by spending a half an hour with you, I can drive you down the sales funnel and decide if you should end up on my mailing list, and I should be spending, because I spend a lot of time in our CRM system mailing you every year. Emails for things like birthdays. So we have this high-touch, high customer service concept in our company, and if I'm not doing that, I can kick them out way earlier by sending a half an hour, and I'll know up front. And they appreciate the time. I can make an impact in their life. I've spent special time with them. I've gotten great feedback, and all I ask is for a review on social media, which will come in handy, and I'll tell you why. Here's the artificial intelligence I have to play against. These are the voices that we're talking to and that they're listening, deciding what we want. I think in about 5 years, we'll no longer be spending as much time looking at our screens via our phone. It's all going to be wearables. At CES this year, I listened to a speaker who thought that 80% of healthcare was going to happen because of wearables and robotics. If you're bored, look up a robot called Pepper. And wearables, monitoring your heart rate. At CES, I saw a hearing aid that could translate on the fly, was monitoring your heart rate, and could tell if you fell or not, and also made sure that you could hear. So these are getting very, very sophisticated. This is another one of my favorites of the last 2 years. I don't know. Type into YouTube, Alexa, play Dicker Dicker. This cute little 3-year-old who could barely talk. Alexa comes back and says, you want to hear a station for porno detected. And then you hear the parents in the background say, no, 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 no. And then you've got Google Grandma last Christmas. This was priceless. Thick Italian accent. The kids got her the Google Dot. She's smacking on it. Google, what is the weather today? Finally, I want you to watch the face when you watch the video, the magic. When Google finally gets back to her with the answer that she wanted, she's got a brand new friend. It doesn't matter if you're a 3-year-old who could barely talk or a grandmother with a thick Italian accent. These voice bots are getting very sophisticated very quickly. So that's why I think I'm preparing big time and why I've been working for voice search for the last couple years. All these are getting into the hardware business. They've all got, we're about to see augmented reality glasses come out. It's going to be very interesting. So start playing. Whatever device you use and whatever voice assistant you use, start asking questions like, Alexa, find me a realtor. Find me a house. See what she responds with. It's typically 3, and I'm assuming that within short order, at least 2 of those will be some form of paid ad. How do I end up with the 3rd? Unlike Google search pages, it can't give me a million results. I already know if I'm a search engine optimization guy, they don't go past the first page anyway. So I'm trying to naturally rank on that first top 3 in the pack. That's not free. It takes a lot of work to work those keywords. So now we have to worry about being in 3, and that's all you got? That's hard. Let me skip through this. Sorry, it's a bunch of demographic stuff. YouTube, 70% of YouTube views is coming from the algorithm. So you watch that cupcake video, and you're like, oh my God, another cupcake video. 3 hours later, honey, we got to go to Del Taco. I didn't make dinner. I was watching cupcake videos. That's why. One of the reasons I look at stuff like this is the population in the Inland Empire. I break down, these are the top 10 cities. You've got the population on the left and the profiles based on age on the right. In the Inland Empire, if I had to decide where to spend my money on a Facebook versus the Press Enterprise right now, they say, has a daily circulation of 100,000. Facebook in just those top 10 cities have 87,000. Where's my money best spent? This is different in every market. LA's got a total different media market. It's also way more expensive. Orange County, same owner as the Press Enterprise, very different. Sacramento Bee, you just really have to get good at knowing the difference. We talked a lot about that. I'm going to skip that. Okay, I'll end with this. Part of it is a theory that this is just a concept I came up with actually from a very personal experience on a vacation with family members. I realized after an hour and a half, I had beat them up with every question I could think of about their work, their family, their kids, how's life, At the very end of the night, I realized that they didn't care. They didn't ask me one thing about myself. So I'm a pretty interesting guy. I'm a total nerd. Like, I'm ready to talk. They didn't care. Apparently, I wasn't interesting. They weren't interested. I don't know. So this is how I apply it to business. Let's talk about business first. Customer service. It's all about relationships for me. I think relationships is the major play. I want to be creative, and I want it to be fun. I want to be memorable. So that's what I'm focused on. Technology is actually the only way I'm using technology is if it helps me with the relationship piece. A lot of people think that you need so much technology, like, oh, I need Facebook, I need Twitter. I'm like, do you? You have a radio face. You should never be on video. I would never say that in real life. But there's nothing worse than watching somebody uncomfortable on YouTube in front of a camera. It's so terrible. Technology for me, it needs to back up what I'm doing. It needs to naturally fit. You need to actually use whatever systems you put in place. The trio, this is very important. I think this is going to help with voice search and your businesses. Ratings, local niche, and social clues. Whenever you have a good client experience, no matter what you're doing, send them to the places that are driving your traffic right now. What's converting? Are they finding you on Yelp, on Facebook, on Google? Make sure you have lots of great reviews. And if you have bad reviews, just don't tell them you have those things. Local niche. It's going to be way easier to rank if you're local. I live in California and all over Florida. It is very difficult to rank in any kind of search when you've got that kind of search history. And I am competing against Wall Street. Compared to a hard money lender that it's like, hard money, Pasadena. I'll never beat that. I just won't. Social clues. It's looking for engagement and it's looking for connection. If you're using Facebook as just your sounding board, this is what I'm doing, brushing my teeth and eating pizza at the same time, I'm weird, huh? And people don't like it and you're weird and people don't engage with you, you're gonna disappear. That's why that third grade girlfriend that you friended like 5 years ago and you had that awkward like, hey, long time, and you've never seen them again. Facebook already knows you make bad friending choices, all right? Story, focus on your story, be weird, be authentically you. There's nobody else that can do you better than you. Lean into it as hard as possible. When I came to the Norris Group, my job was to rebrand our company California specific. I was like, okay. My dad liked data. Okay, let's do this. And that's what we focused on, and apparently I inherited that bug, but that's what we've focused on because my competition also doesn't want it. It's our blue ocean. Nobody else wants to be a nerd, whatever. Be involved, be a pro, be a resource, be an expert. That's also how you're gonna stand out. Get involved politically, volunteer on nonprofit boards. That's where you meet authentic connections that will drive your business. When it comes to you personally, don't be stupid. It is really easy to be mindless right now and just get sucked in. It really worries me in this upcoming elections, knowing the way that algorithms work. It is just you in an echo chamber, whatever you think you want, they're just trying to keep you there as long as possible. You have to mess up the algorithms. YouTube thinks right now I'm still black. Apple legit thinks I'm Mexican. Like, I typed in Santa the other day and Mexican Santa came up and I love it. I love to try to confuse them just playing a game. See if I can do it because it's making assumptions with data. When's the last time you searched for something just very unique and strange outside of your realm? Start confusing it and just watch what happens. Just be very mindful of what happens in the background. Show up for yourself, your family, and relationships. That's part of why I hate going to a nice restaurant and watching the blue light all night and they don't talk and they're at a nice restaurant. It's so sad. Put your damn phone away. Put it away. And especially when there's kids at the table, it's crazy. You're missing out on the world. Try new things, try weird stuff, make it a game, and trick tech. And then finally, what makes you interesting? You need to be focused on all these things and you will stand out way easier. This is something that magically really helped me. I had dinner with Josh Dorkin, the founder of Bigger Pockets, a few years ago, and he recommended Miracle Mornings. My very first purchase on Instagram was the Full Focus Planner, and somebody recommended High Performance Habits at the same time. I have gone almost completely analog in my life. Every single notification is turned off on my phone except text messages. I don't give out my cell phone often. I was having phantom vibrations in my pocket. I know some of you with watch probably have phantom vibration on your wrist. I don't think that's a good thing. So start being very mindful. If you're looking for something to do and get more focused in the new year, I highly recommend this trio. It's amazing. I run out of time. Sorry. Thank you.